What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex.
And I'm Christina.
And Christina and I are going to be talking about the new TV show on HBO Max called Lovecraft Country. We're going to start it off with spoiler-free and then dive into some of the spoilers. So let's do it. All right, guys, so we just got done watching Lovecraft Country episode number 1. We're going to be starting a new sort of series on YouTube with this, is just to kind of like give our initial thoughts here on this episode and then dive into some spoilers and what we think is going to happen in the future on all the other episodes. So there'll be 10 parts to this, maybe an 11th part where we talk about what we think of the whole thing, or just combine that into the 10th episode.
Oh, is there only 10 episodes of the show?
Yeah, there's 10 episodes of the show that I found out.
Okay.
And they're doing it once a week, so that's why we decided to do this format. So otherwise we were going to do it on one podcast episode and just watch the whole franchise and then talk about it and stuff. But so what are your initial thoughts? Like, what do you think?
I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I'm not much of a Lovecraft person.
Sure, you don't know a whole lot about it.
No, I don't know. I never got into it.
Okay.
So I didn't know the creatures and stuff, but the show initially, I loved it because it had the history of it. It reminded me of like other things in history.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it.
Which has torn some fans a little bit because everybody's always like, why does it always have to be like thrown down our throats? I'm like, dude, like, this is part of history, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, should we just pretend it didn't exist like the 50s did? That's exactly why we're showing it now, is because we've been told for all our lives.
Yeah. And there was things in this movie that there was things in the show I just learned about recently, like within this year, because they brought up the safe traveling guide.
Yes.
Which is one of the characters. That's what he does. And I just learned that existed because in downtown Phoenix, there's a historical home called the Swindle Inn, which was on that list. That book, that safe travel guide, really existed.
Yeah, I honestly, I like that they have some historical value. Now, it wasn't called the Safe Travel Guide, I don't think. It was called the Green Book. Back in the day, what she's referring to, and we'll get into that later for those of you who have seen the show. But for the most part, what were your initial thoughts of this show? Like, how it started? Like, was it too slow? Or did you think the characters, like, were you fulfilled by the end? Like, let's talk about that first so that they can understand what we're going through.
I did think it was a little slow, but they were doing character development.
Right, and I thought it was perfectly fine there.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was good character development because then towards the end, when shit just starts to take off, like, it's totally worth it. Like, yeah, and I want the next episode.
Now, and just to be clear, we never read the book that this is based off of. I don't know what to expect. So really, we're just coming at this from a perspective of never knowing anything about that other than a little, obviously Lovecraft stuff, and maybe learning a little bit more as we watch the show about the historical value of some of the things that they talk about in the show. So, which there is some like real stuff in this movie or show that actually is really interesting stuff, and I think if you don't know about it, it is something that you should look into. Which, some of the stuff I knew, some of it I didn't. We found out, like there were certain speeches from history in this. There was, they talk about Jim Crow law in this, which is about segregation, and they talk about that. Now, it's an interesting thing that they're mixing here because, as we all know, H.P. Lovecraft is always been known to be a racist in some regard, a lot. Actually, he wrote poetry. They even addressed that in this show in the very beginning. One of the characters explains away saying, well, I decided to make them my own stories regardless of their past.
That was a great little...
Yeah, so it kind of like addresses that issue in the beginning of the show so that you can just kind of move forward and get on with the characters. Essentially, the story, and this is not spoilerific, but essentially, Atticus is a person of color from the military who comes home because he received a letter from his father talking about some sort of birthright, and he joins up with his Uncle George Freeman, and a childhood friend that he had a think it was like a sci-fi
club, like
club
a
or
sci-fi
something
club,
for
yeah.
sci-fi, because Atticus is a huge book reader. He loves horror and sci-fi, and even in the very beginning of the show, they have something that's pretty CGI filled, and there's a lot going on.
That was a great beginning.
It was really
too.
cool. Like,
Yeah.
it shows you kind of like, it gives you a taste of where this could go or where it is, but it's only just a brief thing. But it's really cool. I really enjoyed seeing that. Anytime I see a particular Lovecraft character on the screen, I'm sure that's going to delight most of you Lovecraft fans.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I know, dude.
What the hell's going on?
I know. I was like, what is going on? I'm like, this is kind of reminding me of like that Doom Patrol or something, or like Legion. You know, with those crazy mind dreams and stuff like that they were doing in it. But then it goes right into the characters, gets right into the 1950s at the heat of like all of these troubles in America, and shows you a different side of it that I think is not really shown that much in TV or shows, or, you know, I think it's, some people may or may not like that. I personally do. If you're one of those people that does not like that kind of stuff, this isn't for you. Yeah, initial thoughts are, I would say this is like at least an 8 for the first episode. It's a strong beginning. It took a little while to get there, but it was all part of the whole thing. The characters in this are extremely likable. Like, you just immediately just like feel like you're a part of their world almost. And it does a really good job of placing you back in the 1950s as well.
It really does.
Like,
the set design was awesome.
There was one thing that they did that we'll talk about in the spoiler section a little bit more that kind of threw me off with the music choice, but I mean, I guess we know it's set in that time, so it doesn't need to be, but it was a little weird of a
it threw
choice.
Me off.
Yeah, it really did.
Because I didn't know where it was going.
Right, I was like, wait, what?
Are we in the 50s? Like...
But it's an interesting mix of characters that I really enjoy, that I really like. There's some pretty aggressive stuff in it. There's some action, bloody as fuck by the end.
Good.
The last 10 minutes or some of the, I was like, yeah, I was getting so excited. Like, plus the characters that get killed, you just want to die. So it's like, you just like really enjoy that part. So, but yeah, for that's, I'd say that if you're interested, you like Lovecraft, you can get into like historical significance in the 50s that they don't really talk about, and the sort of American dream that was pasted over the whole world, and we were told that it was this good when there was all these other things really going on.
Right.
If you get into that kind of stuff, so far this is what we are experiencing, right? So what would you give it a score of if you did? At least an 8. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I would say an 8.
It does have a lot of CGI, but
it wasn't bad though.
I don't think it was bad. I would like to see some practical stuff in there, but I'm sure that this show is probably not going to go that route.
Right, and the actors are really well-known actors too, so I'm sure.
Right, like
they're very good.
Like even one of the ones that you said was the husband of
Angela Bassett.
Who she's a big fan of.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that he was the husband.
Yeah.
But his performance in this, George Freeman's performance, is really good. I like the lead as well, and the chemistry between him and she says her name in one of the best ways possible so that you remember it, and I can't even fucking remember it.
Was it Latricia?
Latricia? Yeah, I think so, yeah. So,
I
but
might
anyway,
be saying that wrong.
We'll get into that more. But thank you if you stop by to check out and see if this is worthy. Honestly, I know $15 a month is a lot, especially when you're only getting 4 episodes a month. We did add a lot of shows that we have been meaning to see on HBO Max, so it was kind of worth it for us in a way, because like we have not caught up on Watchmen. We never saw it. We also like watching John Oliver. We also like, what is that other show? Oh, I'm watching Doom Patrol for the first time, so I'm really into that. That's like amazing.
To watch Chernobyl.
Yeah, she's never seen Chernobyl, so there's a lot of different TV shows and movies that they have in there. Not so much horror, not as much horror as I'd like to see in HBO, but there's a lot of stuff in there from old and new, even some old Japanese movies. So otherwise, I know a lot of friends who are just waiting to the end of the season, and then they're just going to binge it on the free trial.
That's not a bad idea.
I understand, but I was just, anytime you get Lovecraft in the room, man.
You're an impatient person.
Well, I mean, especially because we do a podcast. So at least we're turning it into something,
Right.
you know, with the YouTube video. So now we're going to jump into some of the spoilers. So if you know anything spoiled for you, I would highly recommend you either check back with us at the end of the episodes that we're going to do on this, like the 10th episode, and see what we thought of the whole thing maybe. But from here on forth, we're going to basically spoil the show each time and just kind of discuss about it. So do you want to kick it off with something that you want to mention right off the bat? Or should we talk about the song that they use or the music that they use?
I did love how they used the music from like the 40s and 50s. That was cool. But just that one song that was thrown in there when they were transitioning in the beginning.
Yeah, I was a little like, they put in mumble rap? Like, what?
It was a good track, but
the way I feel about mumble rap, no offense to any of you guys that love that shit out there, but like I'll like the music. I can understand the rhythm and the like, you know, sound that it's going for, but the words kind of just get lost for me. I'm a 90s rap fan, you know what I mean? I don't know what he was saying because I didn't pay attention that closely because I was really thrown off that they put that in there at first. And I wonder if they're going to sprinkle that in as they go. Mm-hmm. A lot of TV shows now, if you guys notice, is that they always try to put in some real bangers for these big TV productions. So they put in like really big songs at the end, or you ever notice that with like Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, or they saved that big one for last.
That might be why they did it.
Right.
Who knows?
They did do some lip syncing and stuff, but Atticus is a character that I think he's a good character because they've showed the fun side of him. They've showed the serious side of him. You know, he's a smart guy. He's in the military. He's done something culturally that at that time, you know, not so many people supported because obviously, you know, he was fighting for a country that wasn't 100% for him and for people of color. So that's a very big topic, you know, back then.
He briefly mentioned that too.
They talk about a lot of it. They never dodge around it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, which is it's a good thing.
I think it's in like if you don't know about these things, I think it's awesome. Mm-hmm. Like it's like a refresher or something, you know, because there's a lot of this stuff I learned when I was growing up, but man, you know, it's not something I read every day. You know what I mean? But I've seen in other books and stuff like that. So what else should we talk about? Do you want to talk about the intro scene?
Oh, that was really CGI'd, but it was a dream.
Yeah.
You know?
It was supposed to be a daydream, yeah.
Yeah, it was all over the place. And then the guy with the baseball bat.
I couldn't think of who that guy was.
I don't know. Maybe he'll come along in a different episode or something.
Well, I'm just trying to think of the baseball players from back then, who that might be.
Oh, I have no idea. Sports?
Because he was like, he's like, I got you. He
slices
Cthulhu in half. And then it grows back together, and then he smacks it, and then he wakes up. It's pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
It kind of shows a lot of things that are going on in his mind without having to go through the whole thing, him being in the military, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So he was taking a bus back. He just left because he got the thing, or did he leave? Was he done?
No, I think he was done, and he had got the letter, and so he was heading home.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
Where's my dad? What happened to him?
Well, because his dad sends him a letter. He's like, you have this birthright or whatever. He brings it to his uncle. He tells them.
And he's like, that doesn't sound like.
You can tell, Uncle George, you could tell he's like kind of playing it like, oh, I know about this shit, but I don't want him to know.
Right.
Like he knows.
Right.
And he's avoided it his whole life while his father has been estranged. Because probably what I'm assuming is that his father didn't want him to get wrapped up in it.
Right.
And then he felt like he needed to tell him.
Right.
Before he died or something. And that's why he sets out to find his father so that they can...
He knew where that place was, too.
Ardham?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you think it's Arkham, and then they call it Ardham. And I'm not sure of the Lovecraftian significance of that.
No idea. Okay, so the end, the creatures that were attacking them. So what the hell were those?
You're just going to jump right into that.
I don't know.
No, let's go back. Let's go in order. Sorry. I know that's the good part. But there was some really cool stuff that happened right in the middle when they're on. So they go traveling so that his uncle can make this safe travel book for people of color. They say other words, but I'm not going to use that. They go on this trip, and the son wants to go find his father. So he's like, well, I'll swing up to Devon. What is it called? Devon County. But they go there. It has a history of witches or whatever. And they stop at this diner, and there's a really cool scene where you can tell, like, Uncle George is like, he's been doing this a while.
Right.
Because he knows how to announce himself so that it's very clear, like, hey, there's a person of color coming in, blah, blah, blah. Like, hello, everyone. How are you? Like,
should we stay? Should we go?
Yeah, he's feeling it out so that he can write in the book to tell people whether or not this establishment, and everybody's looking at him, like, including the what do you call those? Soda jerk. Whatever the fuck. It's 50s, right?
So right when they figured out they weren't welcome, and he was talking about the White House, and he was looking at the wall, and then he slid the tile. Well, I didn't understand that. Like, why did he slide the tile?
That is weird,
What?
huh? I
like,
forgot about that. I thought it was going to be like a trap door or something.
That's what I thought. I was like, what's the purpose? And I couldn't, I thought maybe it had something to do with them talking about the purpose of the White House or something.
Right. Well, because it burned down and then they had to rebuild it.
Right.
And they were talking about how they made them rebuild it, and he slid that tile, and it was a burned floor.
I just got it.
What?
So I think because he had it in his book that was a safe place to go. So I think what he was saying is something must have happened to the original diner.
That it got burned down.
And they rebuilt it. Do you think that's what it is?
I don't know.
Is that why he slid the tile and was looking at the fresh paint on the wall?
Well, we know that the town or the county has a history of witches. They burned or hung somebody who was a person of color in the town, and so they're very sketchy about people.
But how come that cafe was an okay place for people to
go? It wasn't.
But I thought it was because it was in his book.
Was it?
I thought it was.
I thought he was going there to find out if it was going to be in the book, because she even says, well, I guess this place is not going in your book.
Then how did he know about Lucille's cafe? And you know what I mean?
Well, maybe the town's changed or something's changed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It changed. That's why they were talking about the White House.
I'm pretty sure that it was.
And it changed.
Maybe it did.
Well, whatever.
Maybe. You might be right.
Right.
But she did say, I guess this one's not going in your book, huh?
Right.
So I'm assuming it was never in the book.
Well, he's a researcher too, so someone probably told him at one time that was a safe place to go eat.
Maybe.
And then he went to go check it out, and then that's why he brought up the White House.
I don't know.
Is because.
What do you guys think? We'll figure it out. Let's also talk about what happens after that. So they leave the fucking diner. I love this scene because, like, it was kind of like nervous, and the music was a little weird for this moment, honestly. Like, I don't know if I'm just being picky here, but it seemed kind of whimsically fast, like almost like, oh, get out of here, guys.
Yeah.
You know, like when it was really like there's a town of people going to kill these people.
Right.
And she's like, you better get the fuck up and get the hell out of here. We got to get the fuck out of here. And they run out, they get in the car, and they get chased by two cars, a fire engine, and because they passed them on the road. They passed the firehouse, and the dog was barking.
Right.
And so they get chased, and then there's this silver car, because they talk about it earlier. Why don't you go ahead?
Oh, when the son Atticus went to the bar where his father used to go. Uncle wasn't there.
Right.
And he was talking.
Where the dude's getting blown.
Yeah, in the alley. And he wanted to know if.
Oh, sorry.
And he wanted to know if, he's seen his father. And he said the last time he saw his dad, like somebody showed up in really nice clothes and a really nice car.
Right.
And that's what that car was during the chase.
They allude to it. But then when they see the car later, which they're driving parallel, she sees it.
And she starts to go faster because she probably thinks they're after them too.
Right. So she's trying to use them as a block too.
Right.
From the car behind them that's using a rifle.
With the machine gun or whatever.
And you notice it pulls out in front and then slams on its brakes, and it's like the car had a dome.
Yeah, it had a force field.
A force field, and it just flips the car over. And then this white woman comes out.
In a red hat.
Yeah. He's like, go, 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 go. I mean, I don't blame him.
Oh, me either.
I wouldn't stop.
Yeah, like, hey, what are you doing?
I wonder what happened. Yeah, no.
Us?
Then they go to Letitia's father's or brother's house. That's what it's, her brother.
Brother.
They're laughing about it, talking about it, but they don't really discuss what happened with the car and how significant that is. But they go out on the road to look for this place called Artem, which is supposedly this town or this house or this building or something in the middle of the woods, and it's in a sundown state or county. Sorry. Sundown, and back in the day, sundown meant basically that if you were a person of color, and because of the segregation thing, if you were caught in that town after sundown, then you could be killed or hung or whatever. That's how toxic that shit was. We even had some here in Arizona. There's this whole scene with that I really was like, oh God. They pull over the car, and it's like 10 minutes till sundown, and this cop pulls up while they're looking for a road, and they even mention Shoggoths, which are Lovecraft characters or monsters that are beasts with a bunch of different eyes.
Do you think he summoned them?
I don't know. Because there's somehow, it seems like there's some controlling going on, but I'll get into that more. He briefly mentions Shoggoths that are like amoebas that have a bunch of eyes, or he calls them blobs with a bunch of eyes, and she's like, oh, I can run from a blob because I hear something in the distance. Then the police officer comes up while they're doing it, and he's got his shotgun, and he tells them to get behind the car, and then he gives them this whole fucking just fucked up shit.
You know what, like, the scenes with the cops reminded me of?
Right.
That episode of The Twilight Zone.
Right. Kind of did.
Yeah.
But he's like, well, it says here you got 7 minutes till you got to go. He's like, well, we'll head south and get there. He's like, I don't think you're going to make that in time. Because he tells them he could hang them if he wanted to in 7 minutes. Which is fucked up, like, thinking about that.
I don't know how
you would handle
cool.
it. I know.
Keep your cool.
And George, of course, is, trying to do the, hello, sir, like, blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, okay, well, then we'll go north then. He's like, well, you just might be able to make that, Mr. Smart Boy. He gets in the car and he makes him say pretty please, using the word, which is just fucking demeaning as shit. And then they get in the car. He says if he goes too fast that he'll pull them over, and then they'll be killed anyway.
Where the fuck is the speed limit? 25 miles an hour.
I know.
On a dirt road.
Back in the day,
a dirt road. Like, come on.
Hey, man, this is part of the story, but it's interesting because they make it within like seconds, like 10, 15 seconds. They make it over the county line. They go over the train tracks, and then, of
course, there's fucking cops, like, right there.
And that fucking cop that just threatened them is behind them, and they all join up. It was like they planned it.
Obviously.
Because supposedly there was some sort of robbery that happened in a home or something, or...
Isn't there always? Yeah.
They take him out into the middle of the woods to kill him, essentially. And they're trying to, like, reason with them, and they hit one of them on the back of the head, and they're laying there, and that is when you hear some fucking noise off in the distance.
That's where you hear those, what are they called?
And that is where I got, like, excited, because I was like, I hope they fucking tear these pieces of shit. I love that part. That's, like, my favorite.
Well, now it's dark, right? So
you see, like, the cop shining the flashlight. Doesn't he get his arm bitten off?
He got his arm bitten off. One of the cops got their arm bitten off, so then they took off and made it to, like, this Evil Dead cabin.
Yeah, it totally looked like it.
Evil Dead cabin.
Yeah, just a very smaller version of it, but it had the 2 windows and the door in the middle.
Right. I wish they didn't let those fucking cops in, though, because then the cops came up afterwards. One of them whose arm was bitten off, and they let him in, right?
Well, they shot a hole through the door first.
Oh, yeah, so I guess
they had pretty much had no choice.
And then
so that's an interesting dynamic, too, because, like, it's already led up to this, like, really intense scene where they're trying to drive away. They get stopped by the cops. They're about to die. They escape to a house, although George is left behind. And there's this really funny scene where he grabs a flashlight out of a decapitated arm, or what do you call it? Like, yeah, like an arm that's been removed. It's got a flashlight in it.
It was probably that cop's arm who's got cut off.
Yeah, there's so much going on in this whole fucking part right here, what I loved. And there's this dynamic inside the cabin as well, where they're like, they know that they can't be against each other, even though they are, in order to stop this force of the Shoggoths.
What are they called again?
Shoggoths. They're spelled 2 different ways. There's Sho and Sha. So there's 2 different versions. There's like Shoggoth or Shoggoth.
Did you ever read that story?
Well, Shoggoths are technically like he said, they're like blobby amoeba creatures that are like, they describe it a little bit more in that they're 15 feet wide and they can change into different things. And they also are kind of lower level intelligence. So they are more controlled in the Lovecraft stories.
Oh, okay.
They're controlled by higher power. They're actually it was called Fungi of Yuggoth, which they're the like droplings of.
Their poop?
They're just pieces of the bigger whole.
Oh, like in what was that movie?
Cloverfield.
No.
Well, they drop off the mites.
No, the underwater.
Oh, well, yeah.
Weren't they
Same thing.
coming off the underwater
Same thing.
Or
Same thing. It's all Lovecraft.
Well, yeah, that's fine.
They're all getting inspiration from Lovecraft on that, I think. But yeah, those creatures supposedly later on they actually get more intelligent and they kind of break off and speak languages and stuff, and they're not as stupid as they are, and they try to have this insurrection, but they get stopped by the elder gods, and it's this whole fucking thing. But yeah, it's different in this story because they have arms and legs and they're like running around like really fast too, which is kind of like I wasn't expecting to see from them. But that is the creature you see in the trailer. I loved it because it was gory. The blood looked great. That shit looked amazing. The practical effects on his arm and shit like that looked really good too.
Yeah, it did look
good. Do you want to talk about more what happened in the cabin and stuff, or did you like anything in particular?
I like how they were referencing Dracula.
Oh,
the guy
yeah.
got bit and he started transforming. The uncle was like, well, what happens when you get bit by a vampire? You turn to a vampire. And then all of a sudden he started turning.
He's
and
like,
that was really cool.
Sir, you need to shoot him. I was like,
good.
shoot the mother.
And
Why would you even
yeah.
wait? Why would you even wait? As soon as you saw his face distort, I would be like, pop.
Well, yeah, you would have, but...
No, there would be no...
hesitation.
No hesitation.
Right. Me either.
Especially after what I saw outside. You know what I mean? I would be, pop. Yeah, he's gone anyway.
Right. That was really cool.
And they're apparently allergic to light.
Yeah, they figured that out. And so they decided, before that part, well, we got to get to a car to get the headlights.
Right. And she does the...
Yeah, so she starts running to the car with no flashlight. I don't understand. They wouldn't give her a fucking flashlight because the stupid white guys
like,
had
if you
want to
ride out of there, wouldn't you want her to have the best fucking reason to come back?
Yeah, to get you out. Like
I understand you hate black people and everything, but calm down, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You gonna live or die?
She got the car. They got in the car, right?
Yeah.
And the sun came up. They got away. And when they got in the car, it was almost like the creatures like went away.
They got a whistle. There was like a whistle.
Yeah, and they were
like,
away. And then they drove.
And it sounded like it's those two white people. Like, because we meet the woman that was in the car. She's in the Rolls Royce.
I don't know, the silver car, the nice car.
Pretty sure it's a Rolls Royce. I don't know. I could be wrong. They look like fancy white people. You know what I mean? Like really high class. But I think it's them that called them off somehow.
Well, yeah, because then they went to the house.
Right.
Knocked on the door, and then that kid answered. I don't know who it was.
Well, they did talk about the Shuggoths were controllable by, so I mean, that kind of fits into the Lovecraft.
If it's in the area to where that big old nice house was. Oh, it was a nice house.
I'm curious to see what happens because I haven't read the book, so
I'm
tell us what it
too.
is, guys. Like, I appreciate that you're excited about it with us too, and you may know it. I don't want to know, so do not spoil that in the comment section for anybody. But let's talk about it if you don't know. We got 9 more episodes, so.
Yay.
This is a really good start. I'm curious why they called it Artem, and if I'm missing something in the lore that talks about Arkham, or it really was Arkham, and his father was right the first time, and his uncle was trying to cover it up. Because that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, that's probably what will happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really enjoy it. I think it's going to be pretty fun. I hope that we get to see a little bit more practical in the movie, but I'm curious to see where it goes. Are you guys enjoying it? Did you like the first episode? Like, did you like something in the episode that was really awesome? I feel like there's going to be a lot more researching and like sleuthing that's going to be happening. Obviously, George is already good for that anyway. He documents where he goes for the book. He's like, well, this Devon County's got a little bit of a Shoggoth problem, so you might not want to go there, at least at sundown.
Oh, you know what? You just reminded me. So I did think it was funny that he wouldn't let his wife come. to like any of his travels.
Oh, that's right. When he was on the phone with her.
But I would have been fucking pissed because what's with Latricia? Like she's allowed to come, and then he calls her in the middle of the episode and was like, oh wife, I guess you could come next time. I mean, I understand why you don't want to bring her. I mean, it's kind of dangerous.
Isn't it kind of weird though that he mentions it after all that crap that just happens? Like,
well,
we almost got shot. You should bring the kid and the wife. Why not?
I think it's because of the way Latricia handled herself.
Yeah, but
maybe?
she's not. She was only going on the ride to her her brothers.
Yeah.
And then she was gone.
Right.
But I think now that they've gone to this Artem house, now she's not going to be able to go.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And they got to figure some stuff out.
I just wanted to bring that up because I was like, now you'll let your wife come.
Yeah, like it's not that she couldn't handle herself, but I don't know why he thought that after getting shot at, that maybe this is a good time for the wife to come along. Good old fun.
But see, this is where he knows something about everything that's protecting them. So maybe that's why he's like, oh, this shit's real. This shit's like in the family. He
does know something more.
Yeah, he knows something more, so maybe that's why.
What do you guys think? I don't know. Pretty excited about it so far. 8 or 9 for me on the interest scale so far. I don't want to score each episode like that, but I'm just saying.
It's the first episode.
Just to kind of give you, just to see what you think. I'd love to hear what you guys think so far in the show and like where you think it's headed or whatever, without spoiling it, please. I swear to God. There's Christina's phone, so she's prepared for recording.
I never get calls.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming by. I know this went a little bit longer. We're still trying to figure out how we're going to do this format, if we're going to edit it a lot or not. I know this is pretty long, yeah. So it's going to take some time to do it. Eventually, I want to get to the point where we just do this live, so we need to be prepared. I'm saying myself too, just by the way. You're
setting yourself up is what you're
I
doing.
know, right? But guys, if you enjoy this and you want to see more of this, please let us know down below if this is something that you want us to do with other TV shows maybe. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time for episode 2 on Tuesdays in the morning.
Bye.
Bye.